Hey, welcome back to Karen's Papercraft. Thank you very much for watching. Wat leuk dat je weer kijkt. Dankjewel. Today's card is for the Stampin' Instahop, and this is what I've made. The theme is rainbow, and because of the masking and the stenciling you create depth. The background is made with the new colour Azure Afternoon, so pretty. If you want to find out how I made it, come and join me. First we'll take a look at the supplies that I'm going to be using. A blending brush, Azure Afternoon ink, this is a new colour, really beautiful. Memento, Tuxedo Black ink. There's something fancy dies, that one. Scraps of cardstock in rainbow colours. I have Sweet Sorbet, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Light, Granny Apple Green, Tahitian Tide, Orchid Oasis and Highland Heather. Stampin' Blends in the same colour and Pool Party as an extra. A G-block. Playing in the Rain stamp set. And the Artistic Decorative Masks, this one. And I also have two pieces of cardstock. Basic white thick and basic white the normal kind, and I'm going to make my card in the Memories Are More size, which is 4 1/4 by 6 inches, so in fact it's 8.5 by 6, and this will just fit a standard C6 envelope, do you see? So it's nice and big. I'll start by cutting the card base from thick basic white. And if you work in letter, all you have to do is just cut off 6 inches because it is 8.5 wide. Because I have A4, I'm in Europe, in the Netherlands, it's only 8 1/4. So in my case, I have to cut it like this. So you go to 8.5. And then to 6. I know that it means I will have some more scrap paper left, but I wanted this size. And then you're going to score that at 4 1/4. And I'll give you the centimetre sizes. In centimetres it is 21.6 by 15.2. Obviously, and you score it at 10.8 centimetres, and that is then the card base. I'm going to fold that, and with the bone folder give that a nice sharp crease, so that's ready as the card base. Then I'm going to use basic white, and here I need a 2 1/4 strip, by 6, and in centimetres that is 5.7 by 15.2 centimetres. And first of all I'm going to do the stamping and the masking on this piece of cardstock. I'm going to use the little pool of water and the umbrella, and I'll stamp those in Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm leaving this to dry, and what I forgot to tell you about is that I also have to stamp on the masking paper, which are going to mask the pool and the umbrellas. I'm going to stamp those in, well, just any colour, although I do prefer a darker colour, and not in black, because then it's easier to see where you are sticking the mask. So I'm stamping all of these, so 3 pools and 7 umbrellas. Can I get one on there? Yes, that's 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And I'm going to fussy cut all those. I will do that and then I'll be back with you. I don't think you have to watch me do that. I will show you what I did with the very last one. So I've already fussy cut the 3 pools and 6 of the umbrellas, and I'm cutting, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm cutting on the stamped line, not on the outside of it, because if you cut on the outside there may be a white halo around what you're colouring. So I want it to be on that line, so that it almost falls within the stamped lines, the stamped black lines, I mean. Okay, let me just turn that a bit, and there we go. That's the last umbrella. And then you remove the paper backing that is on the masking paper. And there we go. And then you can, oops, careful. And then you can stick it over the stamped image, and this is a bit too low, so I have to pick it up and put it up just a bit higher. That's better. So I've done that with 3 pools and all 7 umbrellas, and then I'm going to mask this again, and I'm using the decorative mask for that. So 6 inches will just fit within the, and I'm looking if there's an equal pattern, and there is. Alright, and then I'm securing it with some sticky tape, because I don't want it to shift while I'm using my blending brush. Alright, and then with the Azure Afternoon ink and the blending brush, and it picks up a lot of ink, so depending on how dark you want it to be, you remove some of the ink on your grid paper. I think this is just dark enough. And then with circular movements you mask, and you can move it back and forth again if you want to get an even colour. I think I need a bit more darkness on this end. Alright, that's it. And then I should be able to remove the sticky bits. And you see, oh, be careful. And you just run this under the tap and then it's clean again. Let me remove this piece. Okay. And I'm going to remove all the masks. And then I'm going to use my stamping blends in the colours I mentioned before to colour all these umbrellas and the pool. I've decided to show you just the last one. So I start with the lighter of the blends. I prefer to do that. Some people start with the dark, whichever you prefer. My method is I use the light and then I'm using the dark to give some accents, and I'm not even blending here. It's not necessary because to my mind an umbrella has these folds. And then I'm using Pool Party to give a touch of colour to the water. This is the light one, by the way. So Sweet Sorbet, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, Tahitian Tide, Orchid Oasis and Highland Heather. can move those over there as well. Then the little strips of cardstock, and I don't know where I've put my, here's my box. I'll show you that as well. I've already die cut them, and I'm just doing the very last one with the Something Fancy dies. This is the one that I want. These I cut in half. And I adhere those to the bit that we've just stamped. Let me just think. There's one part. I'll just mark this with a pencil. That way. And see, did it wrong. I keep switching this. That's what pencil lines are for. I have to make sure I get it right. I want them here, so that way, and I want them there, so that way. Okay, then I'm going to put some tear and tape on, and these are just about 1/2 inch, 1.2 centimeters, so you need about 3.5 inches of the tear and tape. If you go to 4, it doesn't really matter because you will stick this onto the card base anyway. So I'm putting a strip there and one there, and I'm checking on my grid paper. Here's the 4-inch line from the top, so roughly there. And then of course I'll start with the top piece, and I want to get them on in the right order. So red first, and I'll just pick them up when I go. And I put my strip at about 1/2 inch on the grid paper, and then I remove the backing and I put these bits on as far as the edge, and I put the point on the line on the grid paper. So after red you get orange, and you see, because you hand cut them, they may not be equal ended there, but from the tip they certainly will be. Oh, this is a bit crooked, that's better. Okay, so I'm using the grid line on the right as my guide. Red, orange, yellow, okay, I'm still okay. Green. So keep this straight. Green, blue, and then you continue like that. Orchid Oasis comes closest to indigo, and then Highland Heather for violet as the last one. Okay. And then this is the bottom piece, but you start with the red as well. So here I'm going, let me put it, I'm starting with the Highland Heather one here. So you do this in reverse. So 1/2 inch. And this then goes onto the card base. Is this crooked or isn't it? No, it's not. And I'm using my liquid glue now, because I want to be able to slide it to the right or the left a bit, in case it doesn't really come close to the edges. And I do want that. So So I'll put it on and make sure it's straight. And that is the advantage of the liquid glue. And then you have to give it some time to adhere. That's it for today. If you'd like to see more of these projects created in the rainbow theme, check them through my Instagram, Karen's Papercraft. If you'd like to see more of my project, there are some suggestions there, and of course there's loads more on my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Dank je wel voor het kijken en see you next time. Bye bye, tot ziens!